Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Andrew McConathy on Reckless Ways of Living.
But it's universal. I mean, and I think it's like that manages to cross the very personal side, of all the things you just mentioned, but also very relatable,
Mhm.
especially, you put yourself back there.
I
Um,
think, yeah, both of those songs actually for me kind of represent like a turn for me in my songwriting where I'm not really like writing songs for anyone else anymore.
mhm.
Like I'm doing it like for me. And if people like it, that's awesome. But if not, it's more about like my own personal experience and, trying to deal with my own personal shit than, you know, making music that I think people are going to listen to, if that makes sense. Or
Oh,
like if
yeah.
it's, mainstream or, that whole deal.
So who else is
Um,
in the who else is in the band with you? You want to talk a little bit about the band, how that got
yeah,
together?
yeah. So the band has changed lineup several times at this point, and to the point where and in the pandemic, it kind of like formally changed from one thing to another. Um, and just, some people needed to get jobs, some people got engaged and moved away, some people moved to Nashville, some people, didn't want to tour anymore. It was all positive, there wasn't a lot of negativity surrounding it. It was more just like, this is what is happening, and we're just going to go with the flow. And, it will always work itself out in the end, regardless of whether or not you think it will. um, and Yeah, so we shifted from kind of the pre-pandemic lineup to the current lineup, which has James Dunn on electric guitar, and he's from the Wildflower. He's on Wildflower Sessions as well. Tyler Adams on keys, and then at the moment we've got Nick Summers on drums, who has not been featured on any of that stuff, and then Drew Packard on bass. So those are the guys that we've been playing with since pretty much like Winter Wondergrass last year. We kind of made a transition. I was playing with a couple of guys a year ago who are just so busy and such talented musicians that they're in like three or four bands, and it just became physically impossible to schedule all of it. Um, so we had to sort that whole thing out, and now it seems like that's sorted itself out. We've got a new album in the can that'll be out hopefully in June. We'll know more about that this week. But it was produced by a guy named Dave Pahanish, who has written several number one country songs for like Toby Keith and Tim McGraw, Keith Urban. Some really um, you know, technically it's far. I don't want to say far right, but a big step towards country, like Nashville country, which is not obviously our thing. But I was really kind of inspired by Dave when I met him and his songwriting approach, and also just how we hit it off. It was just very natural. It was a fluke to begin with. I didn't realize my agent had reached out to him because they were high school friends. And at some point, I was in Nashville, so I decided to hit him up to do a songwriting session, and we wrote a song called "Falling Stars" in about, I don't know, under 2 hours after meeting each other, which is pretty good when you don't actually like know the person you're sitting across from, in my opinion. And anyways, on my way out, I said if I was going to record this, where would I record it in Nashville, and who would you get to produce it? And he said, you could do it in my studio, and I would produce it, and save you a bunch of money, and so I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. And we booked some more time at that point for like a month and a half later. I'd come back to Nashville and we'd start working on recording that song. in the meantime, I sent him 10 more songs that we then co-wrote together. But uh, but yeah, as we're getting back to his truck, I go, oh well, like when's the last time you talked to Derek, who is my agent? Expecting him to be like, oh, like we just talked, a couple weeks ago or last. He was like, oh, I haven't heard from Derek in 30 years. And I of course thought that they, had a, not to say that they're not close, but it just reflected on how kind of like random this interaction was, and like unplanned, just kind of a fluke. I wouldn't call it a fluke, but kind of a fluke. um, a chance encounter, I suppose. That like, had I known how obscure it was, I might not have pursued it. To say,
What's it going to be called?
it's called "Reckless Ways of Living."
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm down. Yeah.
That's my autobiography. Wait.
Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, we're hoping to get it out by June, but hopefully sometime this summer. We'll
Okay.
stop dropping some singles here in the next month or two.
Awesome. That's
But yeah,
really
it has Vince Herman on it. Vince and I co-wrote a song on it. And then all the songs are co-writes with Dave. So that was a three-way write with Vince. And then I wrote one of the songs, the opening track, "Never Say Goodbye," with Keith Mosley from String Cheese. And so that one is another try write. And then Silas Herman from Vince Herman band, Vince Herman Stud, plays mandolin on about half of the record. The pedal steel player from American Aquarium, Neil Jones, is on about half of it. Lindsay Liu and Kyle Tuttle are on a track. Vince plays bass and kazoo on two different songs. Um, and then we've got Alex Johnson, who is he moved to Nashville recently. He was the most previous permanent member as on the drums. That was Ted Wells originally, but Alex took over for Ted in 2014, and he was the drummer until recently when he moved to Nashville. So he plays drums on it because he was there in town and is an incredible drummer. Um, and then Adrian Engfer from Grant Farm and Kind Hearted Strangers plays on a couple tracks. And then James Dunn, Tyler Adams, and Drew Packard from the band play on a couple tracks, or they play on like most of the record actually. But yeah, so it's kind of Jason Carter from Del McCoury band is on fiddle for a song. So we've got kind of like this big.
Is it branded as just you, or is it branded as you and the band?
It's Drunken Hearts.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Drunken Hearts, Reckless Ways of Living, which at this point, I guess that's kind of where I was going with the whole, who is in the band, etc. While we do have like the staples in the live show, just with the way that things have shaken out, with the pandemic and how, it's always basically been my band to begin with. I own the business, I own the van. um, I get to do all the fun stuff, all the administrative stuff, the taxes. Um, at the moment, it just seems like the most convenient thing for us is to promote it with a live photo from a live show, or if it's a press photo, it's a press photo of me. And, I am Drunken Hearts. It's just, that's me and my band. And if it's me solo, it's Andrew McConathy. But, you know, Drunken Hearts means like it's me with a full band. Um, so, so yeah, I did think about releasing this as Andrew McConathy, and it's all good. It's more of a bluegrass country feel than previous Drunken Hearts stuff, which I also like. It's good to have a different feel for everything. Um, so yeah, that's the update on the album and the client or the personnel that we're working with these days. But it sounds better than ever. The tracks are super cool and they're all different. and it's definitely more of like I wouldn't say a pop country thing, but definitely more arranged and accessible songwriting.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.